Basically, I always say, the Torah kept the Jews and the Jews kept the Torah.
You know, Shepsheshin's a shtetl in southeastern Poland and Galicia. The Nazis came in and they did what they always did, and which was to attack Jewish leadership and the places of Jewish gathering, and in particular sacred objects and sacred addresses of the Jewish people.
This year, on the March of the Living, we go back to Shepsheshin, and we visit the cemetery, we visit the town, and we complete a Sefer Torah that will honor the 39 Holocaust survivors who have gone on the trip, who have gone on the March of the Living since 1990.
This project is a very poetic statement about the continuity of Jewish life. This is about remembering the best way possible, which is by living.
When we complete a Torah in the very place where they burnt the Torahs and the Jews, in honor of the survivors, that is the greatest message to affirm that both the Jew and its faith and Judaism are still very much alive.
The most important aspect of the March of the Living are the survivors.
If we don't have a story to tell, we don't have a journey to go on.
How can you ask of a people who have gone through as much as they have gone through to relive every aspect of that period?
When I asked Meyer, how do you come back and back over and over again to these places where you lost family, where you almost died? And he just looked at me and he said, I come back for the kids.
Being so emotionally involved with the children that we were accompanying, I made a vow that I'll be going as long as I'm physically able to.
And there's nothing as important than to speak to eyewitnesses. And these youngsters, they can always say, I spoke to one of the survivors who told me the story, what has happened here.
Peter Kleinman was the survivor with whom I experienced the March of the Living in 1990 and who had a tremendous impact on me. Heather and I felt very strongly that we'd like to name him in honor of Peter Kleinman as a real concrete gesture. And so here we have Matthew Peter Liebman, who when I look at him and when I speak with him, reminds me of that experience, reminds me of Peter, and reminds me of who I am and what my values are.
In 2010, Rena Schondorf, newly widowed, came on the March of the Living. For over a decade, the two of them went together. She knew that it was her duty to honor her husband's wish that she should go as long as she was physically capable of doing it.
A couple of years ago, we had this boy come on the march with us. He was the only Jew in his grade and one of the only Jews in the school to go on the march. He went on this program and didn't really know his soul. And one of the first people who he befriended was one of our survivors, Ted. And following the trip, this particular student went back to his school and encouraged the administration to make sure that Holocaust education was embedded into some of the senior grades. And then he arranged for the entire school to listen to Ted's testimony. And that's really because of the impact of the survivors.
You know, when people think about the March of the Living, they think about, visiting great sites of history, of visiting painful addresses and of Jewish history, of the camps, ghettos, and beautiful sites in Israel. But the most moving sites are the sites of people, of a young woman or a young man sitting next to a survivor and having a conversation.
It's more than just sharing and telling their stories. When they see a response and they see such warmth and love, I think they see the next generation coming about, and they can imagine this generation taking over and being able to educate further down the line.
That's the transmission of Jewish life. That's the transmission of Jewish ideas.
The use of a Torah scroll to honor the survivors is very poignant. The Torah scroll will continue to live on. Their memory, their heart, their souls, their tears will remain within the Torah scroll and will be transmitted from generation to generation.
The best thing we can do for a survivor is to assure them that the story isn't forgotten, because they all live with that fear. And whatever we can do to reassure them that it won't be forgotten, that they will be remembered, and their story will be remembered, is the greatest gift we can give them.
The funds generated from this project will allow hundreds of children to go on this journey with us that otherwise wouldn't have the means.
Kitvu lachem et hashira hazot. It is the final commandment of the Torah. God says that every Jew should write this song down.
The returning of a Torah in this particular fashion brings perhaps a little bit of sanity.
Once the Torah is complete and we bring it back with us to Montreal, that it'll really be a source of pride for our community. It will allow people to really learn and understand who a Peter Kleinman was, who a Meyer Schondorf was, who a Ben Younger was.
They're an incredible group of people who have and continue to sacrifice themselves to educate our youth and our community.
Each survivor and each student will be writing one letter in the Torah. According to Jewish law, if one letter in a Torah is missing, the Torah is invalid, you can't use it. So every letter of each participant and of each survivor is crucial to the existence of the Torah.
The Torah kept the Jews, and the Jews kept the Torah. That stays with me forever.